We're good.
Okay, this is Mr. Verender's History and American Government and Politics channel, and today we're going to talk about primaries and caucuses. We're going to look at the pros and cons of the American system. At the moment we're in the throes of both the Democratic and, some people won't realise it, the Republican primary. Donald Trump has just been named the official candidate for the November 2020 elections from the Republican point of view. But more well known and more famous is what's going on the Democratic side. Primaries and caucuses came about in 1968 at the McGovern-Fraser Commission. The issue happened that in the 1968 Democratic Convention, neither of the main candidates were actually chosen, and the candidate that was chosen was very much pro the Vietnam War, which meant that the convention in 1968 was a farce. It was violent, and different groups actually fought each other in the hall. So the Democrats came up with the idea of using primaries as the way to select their candidate. That is very important, that you understand that that is a much more democratic system than what happened before. So when we're looking at criticisms of the primaries and caucuses, we're actually only criticising something that is better than the system that happened before. Because before, people in smoke-filled rooms, that the party grandees chose the candidates. So if we were going to criticise, we'll do the criticisms first. If we're going to criticise primaries and caucuses, we look at the caucuses. So let's look at the Iowa caucus of 2020, in which the system for actually counting votes did not work. Let's look at low turnout as a serious issue for particularly caucuses. And let's also think about some problems that are going to come about with things like inter-party fighting. I want to think a little bit about Chillary Clinton in 2016 and Bernie Sanders, and some even more famous ones like George H. Bush in 1992. So the one problem that primaries and caucuses can have is that the parties can split over them. That's one problem. Second problem that you can have, if you have a contested convention, the idea that maybe a nominee doesn't get the right amount of delegates and the convention has to be contested, that can be a problem. You've also got issues of the way that primaries work in terms of the states. It's not like you've got one system. Some people say you've got 50 different types of system depending on the state. So you've got closed primaries in some states in which you have to be a member of a political party voting. You've got open primaries in some states in which you can be a Democrat or a Republican, and you've got mixed primaries in some states. So primaries are problematic because they provide a battle within the parties, and that the system can be such that different states have different dates and different ways in which things are run. However, on the more positive side, primaries are better than the system before. They allow people to be involved in democracy in a way that didn't happen before the McGovern-Fraser Commission in 1968. A classical example of that would be Barack Obama in the Iowa caucus of 2008, a huge turnout there. The fact that Chillary Clinton came back in New Hampshire, the Super Tuesday in 2008, and the way that the Democratic primary really enlivened American politics at the time. Primaries allowed outsider candidates, rogue candidates, to win the nomination of their party. Bill Clinton in 1992 called himself the comeback kid, for example. Ronald Reagan for the 1980 election. These people not always winning the invisible primary in terms of name recognition or money, but coming into the primaries, building momentum and being able to use that momentum to get elected. So primaries allow American people a chance to choose not just the President of the United States, but the candidate for each political party, which has got to be good for democracy. There are issues with the timing of primaries, and I think those issues have been slightly improved in 2020 and 2016, but still exist. Super Tuesday is problematic in terms of having so many primaries at one day. 2008 there was 25, this time much less. They're much more spread out than they used to be. It's called front loading. We don't want so much front loading. Super delegates are problematic because super delegates could, in theory, choose the candidate if the delegate numbers were tied, and therefore there is not a point having superdelegates, because the party's either involved in choosing the candidate or the people are involved in choosing the candidate. And superdelegates therefore have no real place. You either don't have primaries and and the party decides it, or you do have primaries and the people decide it. So superdelegates could play a part, and they nearly played a part in 2008. Another problem with primaries is that they do create this issue about party unity, and getting party unity back is a key. You will see Joe Biden yesterday talking about Bernie Sanders supporters coming on board, saying we have differences of policy, but we all want America to go in the same direction. We know that for uniting the National Party Convention can be a tough ask after a very difficult primary season. Another problem you might not have thought about is the way in which primaries can be over too quickly. So if you don't build that momentum, for example in 2008 John McCain was elected to the Republican nomination so early that most of the later primaries had no impact. There's a real problem if you're voting in later primaries, maybe Pennsylvania primary, that the nomination's already happened and therefore you denied democracy, and therefore you could argue that is a problem. So, caucuses and primaries have more positives than they do negatives because they are democratic, they are participatory, and they allow people to choose the candidate. They have certain problems in terms of party unity, in terms of superdelegates, and the one problem that they have is that they really are not uniform. So in the future, we might decide that we're going to have regional primaries rather than individual primaries in the future. Okay?
What?